Good morning, I'm Jake Sherman.
And I'm Max Cohen.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It is Friday, May 1st, Max. We're in May. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, that was a hell of a week. Number two, the future of Democratic committee leadership. And number three, a FIFA Trump administration dispute is slowing down a World Cup coin. Max, that's two items that you are involved with here in the newsletter this morning, so we're lucky to have you. Let's start with the top, Max. What a crazy week this was. In 1 week, Speaker Mike Johnson was able to reauthorize FISA, reopen the Department of Homeland Security after a 75-day shutdown, pass a farm bill. You know, I think that was a good week for Johnson. I mean, it was a mess, but it was a good week. What do you think?
He got there in the end. Johnson said this yesterday to reporters, sausage making is like legislating. You don't want to see how it gets done, but the end result is what matters most.
Dude, that's the oldest thing in the book. He didn't come up with that one.
I didn't say he did. But I'm just passing along the message from Republicans here. And that's their argument. Of course, I was there Wednesday night on the House floor when the vote was open for 5+ hours on the budget resolution. That's not how anyone wants to govern. No one sets out saying, let's hold a 5-hour vote and hold all these meetings in the speaker's office. But they got there. And I think that's what people are going to remember is the result. That being said, it's a narrow majority, Jake.
Yeah, but I'm sick of the narrow majority nonsense.
Why are you sick of it? It's true.
Because I don't care. Yes, it's a narrow majority. I think I said this the other day on the podcast, but they did something to get there. They lost elections. People left. Narrow majorities just don't. It's not like, sugar mixes with water and you get a narrow majority and it's like a byproduct of something else. It's a byproduct of not winning elections, Max. So I don't have much sympathy for that, to be honest with you. Let's talk about a couple dynamics that we learned during this process. Number one, House and Senate Republicans are warring in a way that is just incredibly notable. John Thune and Mike Johnson are divided right now. I mean, top House Republicans say that Thune folded to Senate Democrats when he passed this DHS bill that funds everything besides ICE and Border Patrol. Johnson ended up passing the same bill Thursday after saying no and then dragged his feet for a few weeks. The bad feelings were exacerbated by Thune panning the House's proposed 3-year FISA extension with CBDC. The House Republican leaders and several people in the House said to me, how do you know it wouldn't have passed? Well, I think Thune knows, but whatever. It's not the point. So let's sit on that for a second, Max. Tensions are high. Patience is running thin. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw Freedom Caucus members and some other right-wing House members say yesterday outside the votes that Thune should be removed as a majority leader.
Obviously, I'll tell you how much he cares about that, dude.
No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care because the Senate is never going to concern itself with the House, let alone the House Freedom Caucus members saying that Thune should be removed. But it's an example of how there's little trust between the most conservative members of the House and Leader Thune. And honestly, Jake, I'm not going to compare it to McConnell, but this might be the first step on the way to getting to a McConnell-type situation.
You mean with House Republicans?
With House Republicans, in terms of the leader of the Senate always has to make tough decisions. And the Thune team will say, we're just being the adults in the room. I'm sorry the HFC doesn't like the reality of votes. But I'm just saying this is not necessarily a great situation for Republicans when you have members of their conference in the House openly disputing the leadership decisions of Thune.
Yeah, here's the thing. John Thune and Senate Republicans care zero about how much the House Freedom Caucus likes or dislikes them. It doesn't matter to him at all. I think the bigger problem is between Johnson and Thune. I think there's some tension there. I mean, I think privately they'll both say the other one is doing what he has to do, but there have been some head-smacking decision-making over the last couple of weeks and months here in both the House and the Senate. Also, two other dynamics I want to run through quickly. House Republicans just keep folding. They don't fight for really anything. They fight until Johnson has them in a room and says something else, and then they abandon it. We saw that with E15. We saw that with Farm. We saw that with a bunch of stuff. Also, when the House gets back, reconciliation is on tap. We have FISA on tap. It's going to be an incredibly busy legislative period. So those are two things to watch out for. Max, any other thoughts before we move into a quick break?
I mean, I think you covered it well. And at the end of the day, FISA Farm Bill budget resolution, it's going to be a crazy stretch when we get back to deal with all these issues. So Yes, there's a recess, but the fun's only beginning.
Okay, number 2 story of the morning. Back to the future with Dem committee leadership, Max. What do you got for us?
Well, Democrats feel confident about winning the House. It's still early, but if they do win the House, it's going to be on the back of fresh faces, generational change in Washington, right? However, you look at the people who are going to lead House Democrats in the potential majority in the committees, it's almost all the same people who are leading these same committees when they last had the majority in 2022. Now, there are some exceptions, but we look at the ages of some of these people. We got 2 ranking members in their 80s, the lower on Waters. We have a number of ranking members, 7 in their 70s, a further 7 in their 60s. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic that, there's been change atop the Democratic leadership trio with Jeffries, Aguilar, Clark, replacing Pelosi, Hoyer, and Clyburn, of course. But you look a little bit down in committee leadership, and this is still pretty much the old guard, Jake. And of course, this is because Democrats don't have term limits on committee chairs like their Republican counterparts. And it's leading to some tension, right? For younger members saying, I can't wait around for ages and ages and ages to get to committee leadership when there are members who've been here for 5, 10, 15 years in that same position.
Yeah, I will say, this is of all the idiocy that House Republicans are involved with on a daily basis, their adherence to term limits is for top committees has been, generally speaking, a healthy thing for the conference. It's created turnover. Turnover, a lot of people think is good. That said, there's not a lot of experience at the top of Republican committees. And it would be difficult to argue that Richie Neal, despite being in his 70s, is not a very smart ways and means mind. Likewise goes for Frank Pallone at the top of energy and commerce, et cetera, et cetera. But there is something to be said about switching up the ranks every once in a while. That's very clear. Number 3 story of the morning, Max. What a wild story you have. Another Max Cohen special this morning with the great Laura Weiss about FIFA and the Trump administration are warring over this coin, this World Cup coin. Congress passed a bill a couple years ago to create the World Cup coin, where the World Cup starts soon. This passed in 2024. We're what, Max? 4-6 weeks away from the World Cup starting?
Yeah, it starts on June 11th, and this coin has still not hit the market, and it's upsetting.
And you want this coin, don't you?
I have no dog in this fight, Jake. I love the World Cup. I don't care about FIFA.
Max is a big soccer fan, and I have no doubt that he'd be interested if the coin came out, but that's not what's behind this story. Congress wanted the coin, the proceeds of the coin being sent to FWC 2026 US Inc., which is a nonprofit subsidiary of FIFA created to organize the 2026 World Cup, but not Rudy Giuliani, but his son Andrew Giuliani, a former college golfer. The executive director of the White House World Cup Task Force wants all proceeds sent to the Pentagon for its morale, welfare, and recreation program. He says this is a cool idea. It would meet the law's intent of promoting FIFA soccer legacy for youth and undeserved communities. And Republicans are getting pissed off that this coin hasn't been released, Max. What am I missing?
Yeah, so Todd Young, Darren LaHood, the Republican Congressional Soccer's co-chairs, wrote a letter to Bessent in late April, saying, what's going on here? Canada has its coin ready. Mexico has its coin ready. These are the U.S. co-hosts for the World Cup this summer. And they said we appropriated, we authorized this funding. We authorized it going to this FIFA subsidiary to promote youth soccer for underserved communities, et cetera, in the U.S. And what's going on? And as you mentioned, Treasury and the Trump administration, Giuliani is leading this effort to the White House Task Force, says, let's actually send this to the Pentagon's morale, welfare, recreation program. This will fit the same thing as the law. Frankly, Treasury officials told us they have some concerns with how FIFA uses money, which is not perhaps out of the question given FIFA's corruption scandals as most recently as 2015. People remember this with misappropriation of funds. So it's an interesting power struggle here between the admin, between FIFA and some FIFA allies on the Hill, let's say.
Great item, Max. Thank you very much for doing it. We will look forward to the FIFA World Cup coin when it is minted by Treasury, and we will look forward. I won't really look forward to the World Cup, but I will a little bit.
That's not true. What are you talking about, Jake?
You are going to the World Cup, so we are very excited for that, and we'll look forward to hearing about it. Go Knicks. They win by 50 last night. Thank you to all involved. And with that, leave us a rating and review. You can subscribe to Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.